Don't engage alone. We do this together.
Yeah,
we got it. We got it.
New 52 book.
Somebody clip this one.
Welcome to Comics League Movie Night. I'm your host, Jared. Yes, I am feeling more healthy after a cold, so I figured the show must go on. So let's bring on the gentleman as we discuss The Death of Superman, otherwise known as the movie I have a very severe love-hate relationship on. So let's get started.
All the hopes and dreams of Krypton live in you now.
The Super Bro.
I salute you,
Thank
Commander.
you. Thank you. And okay, yeah, Teladia, this movie.
I am Phoenix!
What's up, Nick?
Okay, so question. Which version of Death of Superman animated are we covering? Because there's actually like at least 2 or 3 different versions.
DCAMU.
New 52.
So not the version that came out in like 2005. We're doing the DCAMU version.
DCAMU version. All right. Well, it's the same story as ultimately it's the same story with slight differences, so it's all good. But okay, now I love this movie and I hate this movie at the exact same time. If that is,
we all know the reason you hate it.
I'll get into that later. Here's what
it starts
I love
with an
this
L
movie.
and ends with an S.
Here's what it starts with an L and starts and ends with an E, as a matter of fact. But anyway, the thing I like about this movie is that it perfectly captures the love that people have for Superman. That's what I like about the movie. Also, it uses the actual Justice League, which is more than this did. This used the bunch of D-list characters like Booster Gold and Fire and Ice.
To be fair, that was the Justice League of that. It was the quote unquote. It was the style of the time. Like that was the actual Justice League of that time. So yeah, I think that deserves a little bit of a break.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, here's the thing: this was still able to use the good Justice League against Doomsday, and you still had the same result. The Justice League gets their asses kicked, which, hey, I like that. I also like Wonder Woman versus Doomsday, and Teladia and I have been covering Superman and Wonder Woman, and that happens in the book too. And it's just so cool to see that.
Question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So this might be a little divisive. What film do you think handled the Death of Superman better, this or BVS?
And by the way, Nix, thank you for the $7 super chat.
Nike. Wow.
Thank you. But okay, this, because it wasn't trying to cram in also Dark Knight Returns. This was strictly the Death of Superman.
Yeah, like I think one of the I love BVS.
Me too.
But like I feel like the Death of Superman thing was a little bit ham-fisted, but also you got like everyone hates him, then he dies, and everyone loves him. There's not like I don't know. I just feel like there's not a good enough transition there. Like the scene itself is beautiful.
Dope. I mean, hell,
like,
we got our first introduction of Wonder Woman. Hang on, I have to play that clip if we're talking about this movie.
She with you?
I thought she was with you. You know that's a SuperWonder versus Wonder Bat reference. And Daniel says, I hated that movie because Diana and Clark both off-screen. Thank you.
Jared, this would be the perfect opportunity to have Sam Liu
later. Because I already brought this up with him. But the thing about this, because he said, the reason why they did the whole Death of Superman thing, and Britt can tell me about this if she's going to hang out in the chat, is he said that Lois is such an important part of this book. Actually, you know what's kind of funny? it wasn't really his choice. It was the Tucker's choice was the guy overseeing this. The problem is she doesn't play that big of a role in this book beyond just being there. So I disagree with that strongly.
Okay, Jared, imagine if they had just taken like the role that Lois was filling in this book and given it to Wonder Woman, where like you know that iconic shot of like Lois like holding Clark's corpse. Replace that with Diana.
Yes. This was my thing. They had a perfect opportunity to tell the same story, but in a new and exciting way, because you had the relationship, and you wonder, how would Wonder Woman react to the man she loves being killed? Better than she did in the Tomasi book, I'll tell you that much.
I got a better one, Jared. What if they did Super Doom in the animated version?
There you go. They could have done that too. So the idea, Nick, if you didn't read that book, is that the way they do this story in the new 52 is that they don't technically kill Superman. What they do is have it where Doomsday is also a virus that infects Clark and he becomes Doomsday.
To be fair, technically Superman didn't die in the original story. He just went into a healing coma. You can't see it, but I'm doing air quotes right now.
Yes, but here's why I'm saying, here's why I'm phrasing this way. We're just discussing this in the way that this comic book, separate from what came afterwards. So as far as we know in this, he actually died. But it's like they didn't actually do that whole death thing. They just had him turn into Doomsday, which, again, pretty cool. This was my this is what got me into DC so early, is because, yeah, they told all these classic stories. They told the spirit of it, but did it in a way that was new and exciting. Brown Destroyer says in BVS, Superman was already weak from kryptonite exposure. Later, even more kryptonite exposure while holding that staff. Yeah, exactly. That's also why. But I agree with Nick. The problem with BVS, and to be clear, that's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's below. The only movie it's below is Zack Snyder's Justice League for obvious reasons. But
I mean, so Man of Steel is my favorite, and BVS is number 2. Like, I really like BVS, but I have some problem with BVS and the whole the way they killed him off. Like, because here's the thing, I know Wonder Woman was constraining Doomsday with her lasso. She could have handed the rope to Superman and ran the spear herself if it was that. And at that point, Superman knew kryptonite was bad for him. So it's like they could have there's ways you could have written around this. You know what I'm saying?
What they could have done, here's a cool way to honor 300. Batman tosses the spear in slow motion. They do the whole 300 spear shot, but with Batman. Or here's what fits even more with 300. Wonder Woman tosses the spear like this, and it hits Doomsday.
Even better. Here's the shot that I would like to see happen. Okay, so you get a classic Zack Snyder slow-mo shot. All right, Batman throws a spear to Superman. Okay, Superman he looks at it. He says, "Diana," and then he throws a spear to Diana. Diana,
but he didn't know her name was Diana, though.
No. Okay, fine. Whatever. But you're ruining my scene, bro. You're ruining my scene. And so he says Diana because F you, that's why. And she basically, he's temporarily holding the rope with one hand. She holds the spear, and then she chucks it at Doomsday. Because basically, it's a Trinity moment. It's all three of them working together to defeat Doomsday.
That could work. I could see that. And by the way, Nick says
it's done in classic Zack Snyder slow-mo.
Yes, exactly. And Nick's another super chat says, forgot to write something, so you gave me another super chat. I really appreciate that. Death of Superman is great. One of my favorite Superman stories. Yeah, the story itself is fantastic. I do 100% agree with you on that. In post-crisis, Superman also became Hulk after exposure to various rays. Yeah, that too. But thing he basically became an equivalent of Hulk from various rays through the Eradicator. Yeah, kind of.
Solomon Grundy?
Kind of. See, the thing with this, so the story is Doomsday shows up, and in this one, he just shows up. It's not like he's underneath the earth. A meteorite hits. He kills people. Justice League engaged first, their asses kicked. And I love where you have this great moment. Wonder Woman's about to be killed by Doomsday, and then Superman just blasts him with heat vision and knocks him back. And then Diana says, take him down, Clark. Don't hold back. or we're all going to die.
I mean, he can take it, can he?
Yes, exactly. It's almost like word exists in this universe.
I will never not reference that.
That's a fantastic. That's my favorite Superman line of it. That's one of the good things from the DCAU. But moving
I can't
on,
wait till we get to that scene and rewatch.
yes. But see, again, so you find because in the follow-up to this, I was like, oh, this is cool. They're gonna do like show how like the Wonder Woman relationship is affected by him being killed by Doomsday. And then all of a sudden the marketing is wall-to-wall Lois Lane, and I'm like, did I miss a movie? That's my thing. And Britt and I have the same thing. If you had just had a scene of them breaking up or like have it happen in another movie and then do that, okay, fine. I don't like it, but hey, at least you gave it your best shot, whatever. The very fact it happens off screen is supremely lazy.
Yeah, it is really.
And Randy says the death of Superman is good, but it's overused and overdone. Yeah, exactly. This is like the flashpoint of Superman. What I mean is that this is the one story that people in Hollywood think of when they think of Superman for some reason. I love that line. Yeah,
the problem with like most Death of Superman adaptations, it's like they do Death of Superman and then they skip right to the reign of Superman. Like they skip the middle portion of the world without Superman because this is a trilogy. Because the world without like they do
actually
like the first
quadrilogy.
part of world. It's 3 books. You know, Death of Superman, World Without Superman, Reign of the Superman.
And
like
the
they
Return of
like,
Superman, and then there was one more Doomsday book. It's actually 5 books.
well, it's you're overcomplicating things. But like the point is, they skip the whole like all the other Supermen. You know, the Superboy, the Steel, you know, the Hank Henshaw stuff. They skip all that stuff out, which that was really important because what people don't realize is each of those characters had like there was 4 Superman books. Each of them had their own book, and like the whole gimmick is which one of these are going to become Superman. You had 4 different Superman books, each with their own Superman character that you could follow along. That was kind of the beauty of it.
And turns out neither of them were Superman.
Well, to be fair, I think the original intention was to permanently kill off Clark and have one of these characters like replace Superman, but like they like it's like the Clone Saga. They kind of changed it midstream.
Yeah, and what's kind of funny, I remember, but the scene where one woman gets defeated is one of the scenes that you can see the chemistry. Yes, exactly. But and David, what's up, dude? And that's fine. I'm glad you're here anyway. But the thing I love about the Death of Superman concept is that you can see like Jeff Carlin or the editor of Superman. So what happened is that he was at he was at like either a con or comic book shop, and he said this in the Superpowered documentary. He goes, okay, I was in a store and someone came up to me and says, I can't believe you're killing Superman. And he goes, when was the last time you actually read a Superman book? And the person said, a year or 2 ago. And then he said, I didn't kill Superman. You did. If you're not going to water a plant, you can't expect it to not wither and die. He just dropped the mic and walked away. And I was like, yes.
Yeah, we've had this conversation a couple times. And I remember the last time we brought it up, I followed it up with like, it's like the same thing when Saturday morning cartoons went away. Like everyone cried about, oh, I can't believe Saturday morning cartoons are going to go away. You ask them like, when's the last time you watched Saturday morning cartoons? Like, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It's like, yeah, you haven't thought about Saturday morning cartoons in like nearly 20 years. So yeah, you have no right to cry.
Yeah. Because I have no idea how I'm ever going to cover the Death of Superman when the source material is so long. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of stuff for this. But so Teladia, I want to ask you your thoughts on
it's only the Superman is really only 3 trades. We can cover it in 3 videos.
5 trades, but okay.
I disagree, but we can discuss it.
According to DC, it's 5 trades. But so Teladia, your thoughts on the Death of Superman as a Superman fan?
Very heartbreaking, firstly, as a Superman fan, because I don't want to see Superman die.
Yeah, but then we know what happens like the next movie, by the way, covering next week.
Yeah, but
I mean, to be fair, the actual death, they do have him go out like a champ. So
yes, they do. And in this one, he goes out like a boss.
Yes.
So at least he like he had a worthy death. He had a good die. He died a good death.
And what I love, I'm gonna pull up. Yeah, go Go ahead, Teladia.
But when I watch the film, the death of when Superman dies, it brings back flash memories of BVS. It so does,
I
and
can
it
see
hits me in the feels.
It does.
Oh.
So what I want to bring up, I'm going to plug in Superman 75. What was cool about the death of Superman in the comics is that as each issue went on, fewer and fewer panels were used. So to the point where in Superman 75, it's just full page splashes of the entire story. It's just that.
Yeah, and what I really like about the Death of Superman story is they get really visceral. Like, not only do you feel the I think Dan Jurgens did this art, hands off to him, but also like the captions where it's like you can feel the rumbling of the hits. You know, it's like they really put you into this fight, and I think they did it's a master class of immersion.
Yeah, I mean, I also like how, like, in the background art, you see like the glass shattering out of the force of the fists hitting each other, and it's just so cool. And you see like his costume's even broken, and then Superman actually dies. Now,
scroll back to the like the one where like they're punching each other, like that classic one. A little bit more. That one. That is a classic panel right there.
Right there.
Classic panel.
And by the way, can you imagine, again, to your point, Nick? They recreated this, but with Wonder Woman.
I can imagine it with Wonder Woman. I can imagine it.
And that may or may not show up in Athena.
I love the dialogue where, like, the first thing Clark says is, "Are they safe?" And and Lois is like, you know, it is. You saved us all. It's like, oh, like it gets you in the feels.
Yeah. It says 3 to 5 trades of pages to scan individually for editing. I think I'll save that project until YouTube is paying me like it's paying you guys. Yeah, exactly. Superhuman died in Dark Crisis, which again, I did a video with Wes. Everyone knew that meant nothing because they even said they're coming back. I'm like, boy, did we not see that coming. You're killing the Justice League, but then they're going to come back. Really? And then David said,
didn't see that coming?
Yeah, David said, my one thought about Death of Superman is Doomsday got way overused after that story came out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like he was in every single thing.
Can we also give a shout out for like the lead up to Doomsday? Like for at least a year, every issue ended like with a pounding, boom. Like Doomsday
that was cool.
Coming.
Yeah,
it had fantastic like lead up to the actual fight, and that was one of the really fun things about it. But to the movie. Again, I like the movie because it actually uses the actual Justice League, which again, it's a different time for telling the story, which I like this one more because you see, they show that Wyatt had to be Clark because Clark is the most powerful member of the Justice League. That's the first thing. And then you see the Justice, because the rest of the Leaguers are no pushovers. They are extremely powerful superheroes. And then they get like thrown about like Hulk and Loki.
Yeah, because like because here's the thing, like I think BVS did a really good job of showing the scaling between Wonder Woman and Superman. Like, yes, Wonder Woman can go toe to toe with Superman. Like she can take hits from Superman. She can punch him and like he can actually hurt him. But Superman is objectively on a whole nother level, even to Wonder Woman. Like Wonder Woman can hit him, and yeah, it'll probably hurt. Superman can hit her, and she'll, you know, she can take the hits. But Wonder Woman's still not powerful enough.
Well, it's like even in Justice League, and I'm talking about the Snyder Cut version, that entire Heroes Park fight, because the whole movie that they're talking about how much more powerful Superman is than everyone, including the Apocalyptians. Then you see him solo the Justice League, and then he shows up in against Steppenwolf and not impresses him. So I'm like, yes.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like Diana was putting up a pretty good fight against Steppenwolf, and I think Diana could have beaten Steppenwolf. But like even like Aquaman and Diana, which arguably were the two most powerful leaguers at the time, like they were having trouble with Steppenwolf. But Superman shows up and he's just like, it's like, he just easily, you know, he's just not impressed.
Yeah, exactly.
Not impressed.
The clang on the shoulder is what sells it. But anyway, back to this. And the thing about, see, here's my problem with that movie. Back to the Death Superman movie. It's not just that. It's not just that. It's that this happens a lot in the DCAMU. They write off things off screen. So much happens off screen that I'm like, can we at least get prequel comics that show this? And I'm like, that is complete and utter BS. Because if you're going to have semi-important plot points like who's Superman with, because that will affect the story, show it in a movie or don't show it or don't do it at all. It's like it beyond SuperWonder. It's not about that. It's about that this happens a ridiculous amount of time in these movies. That's where I draw the line. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's nuts. That's why I don't the SuperWonder thing. I'm like, okay, that pissed me off, but it's really the off-screen because I'm like, you're just writing it off. And Nick, you're a writer. Isn't there such a thing as show don't tell?
Yeah, like because the thing is, it's easier to show Diana and Clark breaking up than just like say like. It's because when you have like one line, it's like, oh, we broke up. It screams laziness. It screams. I'm not gonna say incompetence because I met Sam Liu and he is not incompetent. But it does come across as lazy.
To a degree,
I'm not calling Sam lazy, but that's how it comes across.
Well, I don't think he was in charge of writing the movie, so it wasn't him.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be fair here.
Yeah. Let me actually see who wrote the Death of Superman movie. Let me see who did. If it's Tomasi, I'm going to laugh.
Oh my God.
Sequel adapted from director. I'm trying to find the actual writer because if it's Tomasi again, I'm going to say that makes sense.
Yeah,
we all know I'm not.
Tomasi!
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense because here's the thing. Here's why I'm going to bring that up. Because Tomasi has a hard-on for keeping Lois Lane relevant, and then look at what this did.
I mean, we all know I'm not the biggest fan of Peter G. Tomasi. Like, I'm like, if I met him at a con, I wouldn't like insult him or whatever. Like,
no.
I as a person, I have nothing against him, but like as a creative, I'm just not a fan of his work. And I'd probably say like, yeah, I'm sorry, I've never really enjoyed your work, I'd be polite about it, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. In terms of DC work, I like his Green Lantern work. It's just when he writes Superman that I'm like, oh God, because he's really writing Lois Lane. He should just write the Lois Lane book. But yeah,
it's the tail end of the original Nightwing run, and God, was it bland. It was so friggin' bland.
Yeah, I want a movie where it should be the breakup of love. That would be cool. I would put that scene on repeat. That would become a clip on the show. But it's like, here's the other thing. Here's what you guys may not know. They did a sequel comic to this. So they did a Death of Superman comic in 2018. I read like the first issue. Big mistake. But here's what happened in that book. The first issue is Wonder Woman talking to Shazam, and she's explaining, oh yeah, Clark and I met, and she was basically retconning in that Lois was at the battle against Darkseid. She wasn't. And that you have Wonder Woman saying, oh, it's always been Lois for Clark. It's always been. I'm like, no, it wasn't.
Jared. So this fictional movie is going to be called Superman Wonderful World.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Pikachu says, I remember complaining about Tomasi writing the movies when Dan Jurgens could have been swapped in and done what Joe Kelly did with Superman vs. Elite. Except here's the thing, Pika, would have been the same result because Jurgens hated SuperWonder too, even though here's my thing about Dan Jurgens. I like a lot of his work. To be clear, this is not a thing against him.
He's one of the greatest people to ever touch Superman. Hands down.
The problem with him is that he's a one-trick pony to me, is that whenever he writes Superman, he has to bring in Doomsday or some type of reference to the death of Superman and make that central to the story somehow. That's my problem. But DC Animation should just cherry-pick stories without putting in the work to make audiences care about the story. Yes, exactly. Thank you. Because here's the thing. Even if we did the breakup later, why couldn't we get a Superman Wonder Woman movie? Which I get they wanted to end it. Point is, there.
But so Jared, let me ask you a question. if you were to have a Super Wonder movie, let's say it's set into DCAMU, what would be the plot? Go.
It'd be basically Power Couple, where it's them dealing with their relationship. It gets leaked to the public. They have to fight Zod and Feora. The Teladia, no story I'm talking about. But it would also bring in, like, later on, if we want to do 2 movies, the second movie can be their daughter from the future comes back to save the world, and it turns out they are meant to be together in this universe. And then it would have just been like them trying to balance being superheroes and having to deal with the whole little having a relatively normal life, because that's what's cool about that, because you deal with people that both of them that one person doesn't necessarily jive with the whole secret identity thing because she's the embodiment of truth, and the other guy grew up with that. So that would be really one of the most compelling ways to tell that story.
Jared, you want to know my is this, by the way, this is going to be more of a comic book run than really an animated movie.
But go ahead.
So Diana and Clark are living on the farm, and they're living their life, you know, Clark Kent, Diana Prince. But then some people show up on the farm, and it's like, hey, there's these people, you guys need to take them in. We don't know anyone else who can handle these twins. It's the Wonder Twins. So basically, they have to like do like a foster. They have to foster the Wonder Twins, and it's basically their training run for having kids. So basically, the twins, they get secret identities. They enroll in Smallville High. You have all the hijinks, but it's like their training run for kids. You know,
I like that. That actually is a good idea.
Like that like if I were to do a Super Wonder story, that is what I would do.
That is honestly a great way to do it. And again, it leads to more stories being told.
Did I just pitch something and Jared didn't immediately throw up?
I know, that's weird. It's well, here's the thing, Nick. Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
God dang it.
But again, that is my thing. Because again, it is supremely lazy to just write it off as, oh, that happened in a scene we're not going to tell you. It'd be one thing if they even gave the deleted scenes of that. But I'm like, it is freaking ridiculous. And I'm like, that's why a lot of people shut off of these movies. And again, another thing is like, this is why the comics were struggling and still are, because there's too much of this. Oh, that happened. This important plot point, that happened back then. That happened back then. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? It's annoying. So Teladia, as a Super Wonder fan, how's this movie make you feel?
You know how exactly it makes me feel, Jared.
Yeah. I think I can summarize Teladia and Maya's reaction in this clip. Because here's the other thing, too. And I brought this up when we did Under Two Capes the other day. So the whole thing is that Clark is going to reveal to Lois who he is. That's cool. All right. Here's how he does it. And just stares at her. And I'm like, because here's the thing about the way Christopher Reeves did it. And we talked about this on this week's Under Two Capes episode. He had the hunch and everything. And then when he took off the glasses, he like stood straight up. And I'm like, hey, that works. This one, oh, he just took off the glasses and stared at him. I'm Superman. Daniel says, just think about how Menace would feel the supervillains of the DC multiverse, of Clark and Dan get together as a couple and a team, and how threatened they would be by their upcoming children. They did that. The new 52. Well, what's up, Nick?
I do feel like Superman and Lois, they handled like the Clark revealing his identity to Lana really well. Because like not only did he take off his glasses, because it's Lana, she's seen him without his glasses, so like that's you know,
he flew
up. Yeah, like at that point, it's like, you know.
They even did that when they flash back to these Clark revealing his identity to Lois in that show. He flew, or it's like with the kids, he lifted a tractor, and I'm like, okay, that's the cool way to do it. Instead of just taking off your glasses and just staring at her. Because wait a second, and wait, there's one more thing I want to say, and I believe we said that's on two cases, but the point is, they've been dating for a while in this movie. That's what it's implying. He's been dating Lois for so long, and she hasn't seen him without his glasses on.
Well, no, it's Lana. I was talking about Lana.
No, but I'm talking about in the movie, because again, takes off the glass and just stares at her. He hasn't taken off his glasses around her because even though they've been dating for a while.
Remember we were talking about the Superman disguise, to where I said the way he acts is in such a way that even if his glasses fell off and they see his face and he's like, yeah, you look a lot like Superman, it's like, but they would never refuse to believe he's Superman. Like Clark, that klutz, that dude lost a fight with a copying machine. Literally an hour ago. What makes you think you can do supervillains?
But yeah, it's like in this universe, they never had the klutz Clark, so you can't use it. So they can't use that excuse. They never showed us, again, showing, not telling. They never showed us the lengths that Clark goes to keep that identity a secret, and that is the problem with the DCAMU. It's too much telling but not showing.
Again, I gotta give props to Superman and Lois, because if you look at how Clark acts in Superman and Lois, he's kind of like he's very much a square, like a dweeby kind of square. Like it's subtle. It's a little more subtle. Like he's very much kind of like a, hey, how you doing? You know, kind of like very much kind of like, you know, farm boy, whatever. He bumps up the farm boy to where like, oh, that dude? No.
And I got news for you. They did the klutz a little bit in like the first episode where it shows him arriving at the Daily Planet. So I'm like, hey, that works. Remember how they
dialed it down a few notches, but it's there.
Yeah, remember how the new 52 Superman comics that Clark rants at Daily Planet's new owner without his glasses that he is going to quit. He did that? Oh, interesting. But the point is, again, and here's my other issue. This is more of an issue with the way Lois is written in this movie. She's supposed to be the greatest reporter ever, and she can't put it together. Because it's like your boyfriend, who you've been dating for a while, vanishes without a trace whenever there's danger. Then Superman just shows up. The glasses thing, I'm sure you've seen his face. And you can't put these together and think there's something about my boyfriend that's weird.
I think Spider-Man: Homecoming handled this entire situation beautifully with like Zendaya's character and like Spider-Man, where it's like she had pretty much figured it out, but like she wasn't like she was about 99% sure, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like she had like that little shred of doubt that kind of prevented it, but she was pretty much sure because, well, she was there and she kind of put the pieces together. Like, say what you will about the Homecoming trilogy, it does have its moments of brilliance.
Or in the Snyderverse, where Lois figures it out in one movie.
What? Not even one movie, just like one glance. Like
it's like no, it's a month. It's like within 5 minutes they show us, but not tell us her retracing his steps.
I thought it was at the end of Man of Steel. As soon as he got introduced, they took one look at each other. Like she had that knowing smile. Like I know you're Superman, and then
because remember. When he takes off to go save Martha in that epic, you think you can threaten my mother scene, she calls him Clark. So she knew it because the montage in near the beginning of the movie was her tracking him down throughout the entire retracing his steps. So she already knew it. That was still good though, because it was like that the way she says "Welcome to the planet." I was like, okay, I like that. That's good.
Dang it! I've been saying it wrong this whole time. Stupid me.
Yeah, exactly. But it was sometime during the Hell arc where both Clark and Kat quit to do their website, and then the SuperWonder book picks up. By the way, Teladia, just wanted to let you know that. But see, and then so we've talked about the negatives ad nauseum. I will say though. The action scenes of this are great because Nick, what they recreate is that feeling of like that weight whenever Superman punches Doomsday. How the way he kills Doomsday is different in this one. Doomsday's about to kill Lois. Superman flies at Doomsday in super speed and punches him in the face so hard Doomsday's face reverses.
Wow.
And then there was a shockwave because of how tough that hit was. It is so cool. Daniel says, in the old Lois and Clark TV series, a time traveler told Lois that in the future, she'll be called galactically stupid for not being able to realize Clark and Superman were I need to watch that show. That's awesome. I love that. I love that. That was a villain saying that. But yes, I love that. Yeah, exactly. You're the best reporter and you can't figure this out. He's given her way more like indicators, considering also in the comics when she first goes to his apartment, he has the weights and it's like she lifts them and she's like, Clark, these are too light. How do you maintain that jacked physique? And I'm like, oh God. It is freaking ridiculous. This is why I don't like Lois, because she's written to be stupid. She really is. I'm sorry. This is the way she's written. Because again, she doesn't figure it out, considering she has been given ample evidence that points
when
to
literally
Clark being Superman.
any reporter in that situation, that would be like a light bulb moment. You know what I'm saying? Like a competent writer would literally take that scene and be like, Clark, why are these so light? And why do they have dust over them? How do you maintain this physique? You know, kind of thing. Like,
and why do you always
literally
vanish whenever there's danger?
And then Clark just goes in, kisses her, and she forgets all her memory. Oh,
yeah,
wait,
exactly. Exactly. That's my thing, because I'm like, it's what they, here's how I would have Lois's role in the Superman book. You ready? She would be a reporter constantly trying to expose his identity, and like it would be like a game of cat and mouse with Clark trying to save the world as Lois is trying to expose him for her own aggrandizement. That would be great.
I need to touch upon Randy's comment. You all know how Lois figured out, and Lois and Clark knew in Superman? It's like, Superman's hand touched and it was cold, and then your hand touched me and it was cold. Thus I know you're Superman. Oh my freaking God. Yeah. That is literally how it happened. That's how she figured it out.
That's it?
The show is otherwise good. I think like the back and forth between Lois and Clark is pretty good. And they actually let their relationship play out. Like they get married and they actually have a relationship. I need to do a rewatch of that show.
That is utter. That reveal is BS. So everyone with cold hands is Kryptonian. Is that what you're telling me here?
So what you're saying is Edward Cullen is a vampire.
Yeah, it's
Superman. Sorry.
Brown Destroyer always says, I always believe that Clark and Superman look different from each other, face cut wise. Maybe Clark Kent is slightly thinner than Superman. Kind of. So Superman has the ability to change his body shape slightly. He does. I've never seen that.
I don't think that's the case. I think it's just perceptions, really.
Yeah, and then Pika says, is Lois Lane written to be stupid, or did the Kents do a good job of helping Clark create disguise and act without... No, because Pika, he legit does stuff that points to him being Superman. And like even with the weights alone, combined with the fact that he always vanishes and that she should have seen him without his glasses on, think you look like Superman. Okay, that alone, I could see where people like, no way it's Clark. Okay. But the weights combined with that... Yeah, go ahead.
Shout out to one of my favorite lines from Superman the Animated Series, where Superman speeds out and like it starts to blow Lois's skirt up and she presses down. She says, I gotta start wearing pants.
That's great. And then once you get hey, what's up, JJheat? And once you get to the reign of Superman, becomes a Lois Lane story.
Why did you say that name?
To be fair, the comics was the World Without Superman was a Lois Lane book.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm like, no. But it makes even some people he doesn't have those. Even Superman, even Batman fell for this belief in the New 52. Yeah, I know, but Batman figured it out. That's my point. In this movie,
I mean, if Batman didn't figure it out, I would have like wonder what's going on with the writer's room. Batman is literally the world's greatest detective. If Batman can't figure it out.
Wait, Nick, do you know what happens in literally the first movie of the DCAMU?
What?
So this is the adaptation of Justice League Origin, and Teladia, we'll talk about this when we cover this.
Yeah.
So they first meet Superman, and then they're fighting because Superman thinks they're in league with Darkseid. Okay, fine. They're fighting. Do you know how Batman stops him? He goes, "You don't kill, do you, Clark?" That's it. So Batman instantly knows, and I'm like, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I'm like, even Batman put it together, and I'm like, it just makes Lois look so stupid doing this. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Blame-
Brown Destroyer has a good point. Like I agree with him.
There's way too many
100%.
look like people in the world, so Clark and Superman it could not be such a big deal. But the point is, we don't see that really in the comics too. So you're applying real world logic to a comic book world.
Okay. There has been plenty of times in the comics where they've taken like Clark's glasses have come off. Like okay, so this is more of a Silver Age Superman story, where they basically make Clark be like a fake Superman, and so they take the glasses off, and Lois Lane has a thought bubble. It's like, oh man, he does have a resemblance to Superman, so maybe that's why I suspected it, but she still doesn't put two and two together. Yeah, there's actually a storyline in Silver Age, like this is crazy, where he's like a fake Superman. Like one of my favorite ones is like, it's like he's supposed to crush fake he's supposed to crush coal and the diamonds, but they're supposed to have hidden diamonds in there, but it was they actually took out the diamonds, so he just crushed him into diamonds anyway. It's like you're supposed to it's just I need to find that story, and it's just sorry.
Yeah, but that's good. But it's like here in this continuity, it just doesn't make sense why she, who DC routinely tells us is the Pulitzer Prize winning reporter, one of the best reporters ever. She can't link this together. Go on, Teladia.
There's one person to blame and one person to blame only.
Who?
Peter J. Tomasi.
Well, not only him, it's like all of DC editorial, because they have allowed Lois to be written this way. If they had written her like I've always known, but I didn't want to tell, I didn't want to tell you or something like that. I didn't want to risk it coming out. That's one thing. No, they make it like she legit didn't know.
But because he did the Superman Wonder Woman Volume 3, it's like, oh yeah.
Speaking of that, guess what Lois did in the New 52, Nick? And this sealed my hatred for this character. So because she wanted a news story, do you know what she did? She revealed Clark's identity to the world. She found out about it, was pissed that he kept it from her, and then just revealed it to the world because she thought it would be a great news story and advance her career.
Wow.
She did the same thing in Heroes in Crisis. This is my problem with Lois. She will do anything for a story. She will screw over whoever she needs to do for a story. She's done this too many times in the modern continuity. You can't say that that's not canon anymore. In the canon continuity, she has done this. By the way, DCEU is headed to Netflix. Yes. So, Nick, did you hear that like most DCEU movies are going to Netflix?
All except the one we want.
No, but the thing is, if this happens, it is popular, and then like they put the Snyder Cut and BVS Ultimate Edition on there. But also Clark isn't a celeb in DC Comics, so no one is looking. Yes, but here's the problem: the people closest to him, like Lois, because Lois is with him ostensibly every single day because they work together.
Well, I would argue in some continuities, Clark is like a pretty well-known reporter, like. In the Arrowverse, Clark, Clark is such an important person. Like, remember when Clark showed up on Supergirl and Cat Grant acted like he was like this big deal. Cat freaking Grant, literally the owner of a multi-billion-dollar company, she treats Clark like a big celebrity, So.
And then Pika says, even in BVS, Batman never believed or gave any thought to Superman having a human identity, and just saw him as an inhuman alien. That's because Batman was in a bad mindset. And by bad, I don't mean it was like not Batman. I just mean he was he was so consumed by rage. That's why. But
I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like in that encounter, at Lex's party, Batman, like, I think Batman knew he was, like, they knew who each other were. Like, I really, like, the way they're acting, it really feels like they know who each other are.
Yeah, I could see how you would think that. Randy says Lois is all about Lois. She is selfish. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. She is way too selfish to be with literally the most selfless man in the DC universe. You can say opposites attract. Not this opposite. It's like the reason why Wonder Bat doesn't work, because Wes gave me this excuse because opposites attract. Not when you have someone who functions off of lies and someone that is the goddess of truth. That's fundamental to her character. No, that doesn't work.
I mean, like, if we were to switch companies, like, this is why Black Cat and Spider-Man will never work. It's literally the same reason, because like, Black Cat, she can't be trusted. You know, she plays with Peter too much. She's like, he needs someone loyal like MJ or Gwen.
Even MJ points this out all the times in like Spider-Man media and the comics. She's like, no, she's not good for you, dude. Yeah, avoid that. And guess what? It always works out for Peter when he avoids Felicia.
I mean,
So
Black Cat is the epitome of the toxic girlfriend.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
But what I was gonna say is,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm surprised the DCAMU Lois Lane wasn't a part of the Council of Loser Lanes.
That'd be hilarious, but it's like, the less said about that episode, the better. That's just me there. Amber, Blackhead is Amber, nice. And then Pikachu says no, Nick, Batfleck just saw Clark as a random reporter, and only Clark knew Bruce Wayne was Batman because he overheard Alfred on the earpiece.
He's not wrong.
I don't know.
You can have a different interpretation, and that's fine, dude.
Yeah, I'll admit it's more of a hunch. I don't really have any solid proof, but yeah, Superman definitely knew he was.
Superman knows for sure because he heard Alfred in the earpiece. That's for sure. How about Rogue and Peter, or Peter and Nick, or Shadowcat and Peter? Shadowcat and Peter didn't work out. That's what Ultimate Comics showed us.
Yeah, like I want to say, like, isn't like Kitty like a little bit younger than Peter? Like,
a little bit. It's not creepy. It's not Bruce Timm creepy, but it's
borderline.
No, it's not even borderline, because they're within, like, I'd say a year or two of each other, so that's fine.
I mean, as far as Rogue,
yeah.
I think Rogue and Gambit work best, because I think
Rogue and Gambit is that, yeah.
It's like they both kind of have like that wild side. I think they get each other on a certain level.
Yes, so there is that.
You can tell I'm an X-Men '97 fan.
Oh, I would not be surprised. And by the way, well done in terms of taste. By the way, it's kind of interesting. I asked Comic Explain what got me into comics. It was that cartoon. So there you go.
Yeah.
But so hey, what's up, Tevia? We're talking about Peter J. Tomasi, so he showed up.
I love how as soon as I started talking about like Spider-Man and the ship, Tevia appeared.
Yes, exactly. But so moving on, and I'm going to say this, and this is what Britt and I talk about on Legacy all the time. My problem with DC and Superman, the way and my day is going great, Tevia. How's your day going? The thing about my problem with the way editorial handles Superman is that it's basically the Lois Lane series of books. It's all about her aggrandizement. When you have the character that started your company, oftentimes, at least to me, this is just my opinion, it seems to me like Superman sometimes takes a backseat to his books in favor of Lois Lane. And it's not called Lois. It's not called Superman and Lois. The book is not called that. Go ahead, Nick.
Okay, I'm going to throw you a curveball. What do you think about the Batman and Lois Lane pairing? Like, we did see it in S-TAS, and honestly, I kind of think they.
Here's why I like that, because Batman and Lois are both manipulative people, and we know why you like this movie. We got to tell you.
But like, I feel like the chemistry between Lois and Superman, Lois and Batman, was really good in the S-TAS. Like I have the greatest story ever. It's like, so you do care. I'm gonna get some iodine. Some like they just played off each other so well.
Yes. The two characters that I think Lois works well with is Batman, because they're both manipulative, and Steve Trevor because they're both like redundant characters. But the problem with MJ and Gwen is that they're civilians and we're too much of liabilities in Spider-Man's world. But that's part of like the charm of Spider-Man, is that he has to balance these two worlds and keep them both like maintain the integrity of both. So that's why I'm a little bit more like okay with that one. And Brown says,
and the thing is, like, MJ at her best is Peter's emotional anchor.
Yeah,
like,
she is. Hell,
like, we saw this in the 90s when they had like that whole decade where they were married.
I mean, Nick, when you read Sin's Past, you commented multiple times that I hate this story, but the MJ stuff is pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah, because Spider-Man. Because here's the thing about Spider-Man is being Spider-Man is easy. being Peter Parker is hard. That's the whole dichotomy. And MJ is there to make the Peter Parker stuff easier, but also to bring him back to humanity. Because if he's just Spider-Man, like this is the reason why Clark Kent exists. It's because if he's just Superman all the time, he loses touch with humanity. By being Clark Kent, he lives among them. He gets to be one of them, so he has a greater empathy for humanity.
Yeah, and Brown Destroyer says, well, why doesn't DC experiment with Superman with any other girls? Why is this obsession with Lois Lane? Because here's the thing, and Sam actually phrased this fantastically in our interview of him. He said people are attached to the period of DC that got them into comics. And unfortunately for a lot of Superman fans, it was that period. It was the post-crisis era, and it was the Christopher Reeves movies. Nothing wrong with that, but a portion of these fans, I'm not even gonna say a lot, a portion of them are stuck on or like have a death hold on that and won't let these characters change in any way.
Here's the problem with Superman is everyone loves the idea of Superman, but getting people to read, like, this is why people love the idea of Superman. They just don't like reading his books. Like, his books sell well, but like his books are like you can seriously, all three of us can name like 5 different iconic Batman storylines. Superman, we can maybe name 3, and that's the problem is Batman as a character, people love his stories. Like, all right, sorry. I was reading.
Wait, that is a hot take. Gwen Stacy needs to just go away. That is a major hot take, Tavia.
To be fair, Gwen Stacy has been away for 40 years.
Well, technically not. Multiverse, Nick.
Well, Gwen was only really brought back within the last 10 years, and from like the late 60s up until like let's say the 2010s, it was the idea of Gwen Stacy that haunted the books. Her shadow, her ghost.
True. That is true. I do. I think you got that. And then Tevye says that's called the grandfather clause. Meaning, if Superman was created today, Lois Lane would not be seen as Endgame love interest. Yeah, exactly. That's why when you see people who came in the new 52, they're like, and that's the thing. That's why these people are afraid of the new 52 and try and slander it as a failure, because they know that showed that Superman does not need Lois Lane to be successful.
But it's also part of the writers where it's like, because look at any other character, like as far as the love, like Batman, it's like you got like Batcat, you got the people with bad taste, you people with Wonder Woman.
And Tavia, it didn't crash and burn badly. Just because there were some books that you didn't like does not mean it failed.
Talia or like Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man has banged half the Marvel universe, or it's like what is it about like DC's like Marvel street level like what that's all different discussion. But like the thing is there is at least 4 different like of characters that these major people can like discuss between like Batman and Spider-Man. But with Superman, it's really only 2. It's Lois Lane and Wonder Woman.
And Lana, some people say he works. Some people hold that like he was good with Lana, so there is that.
Well, those people grew up on Smallville. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah, to a degree, or so some of them in the comics, but yes, and it's kind of funny. It's more now with Wonder Woman. Because even I talk to general audience people all the time, and they're like, "Yeah, Lois Lane is slightly annoying. We prefer Wonder Woman." There you go.
I mean, Frank Miller, I think, said it best. Like, have you seen that clip of Frank Miller talking about like how Superman belongs to Wonder Woman?
No.
Okay.
Do you want to summarize it?
I'm looking up the clip, so just talk.
Okay, it's fine. But the thing, Marvel's sick obsession with a lot of people be married and they have a family. It's because here's the thing, Tevye, because they believe that Spider-Man's not going to be relatable unless he is single and like doing that. Here's the problem. I disagree. In Rebirth, you know why Rebirth Lois is quote fantastic, Tevia? It's because they have other characters telling us why Lois is fantastic. We have the writer telling us we should like Lois without showing us why we like Lois. That's the problem. And the heart of the Marvel universe are Fantastic Four, X-Men, Spider-Man. Yes, exactly. 100%. I agree with you on that one. And for this, Tevia, the reason why they do that, here's the problem with Marvel. Before Miles, they would have had a little bit of an argument where they're like, okay, so we want Spider-Man to be relatable. We don't think he would be relatable to people if he's like married with kids. Okay. Miles shows up and is brought into the Marvel universe, the main Marvel universe. They have an excuse to put Peter with Gwen and MJ and still have the relatable Spider-Man. You're able to have both now. Just do both. And that's something Nick and I have both said many times.
Yeah, yeah, because like it's very like it's like you want to have like this is how Marvel can have their cake and eat it too. By the way, check Comics League chat. I left you a gift.
Oh yes, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. You sent me a panel from Dark Knight Returns when Superman and Wonder Woman have adult relations in the sky and then actually cause hurricanes when they slam into the earth.
So say what you will about Frank Miller, but you can appreciate his taste in chips.
By the way, what's kind of fun is that Britt brought this up. You know how in like All-Star Batman and Robin, the Justice League act supremely out of character and act like a-holes the entire time? She brought up that's the Justice League from that Batman's perspective.
I want to touch on the ultimate. I want to touch on the Ultimate Universe thing. I believe this is Marvel's way of testing the waters. I believe they're like, okay, everyone's wanting them to get married. Let's have them be together in an alternate continuity. Because I just want to say, I actually like the idea of like an adult Peter Parker getting his superpowers after he's married, because that has a whole new dynamic. Like it's a familiar yet different kind of setting. Like I actually want to give them props. They actually had a good setup for the series. So I'll give them some credit.
Now I'm wondering, is Uncle Ben dead in this universe? And did he give him the old great power with great responsibility? Because that was kind of important. But my issue with this, and by the way, yes, movie theater, I'm glad you asked this. I'm not so sure about this whole Peter being married thing, because I'm like, yeah, Marvel is going to find some way to ruin it. Modern Marvel, they come up with good ideas and find some way to screw it up. They will have like Spider-Man end up like having an affair or like divorcing with MJ because the whole superhero thing. That will I'm not 100% sure. I'm about 95% sure that will happen at some point. That's just the way Marvel works. So that's why I'm like, people don't be so quick to celebrate this, because because for the length of this universe, Marvel will find some way to mess it up.
I will say I'm actually considering getting Ultimate Spider-Man #1 just because like it's a new series. So like I'm actually kind of interested. It comes out in January. I might pick it up.
That'd be fun. I'll check that out. But and it's being written by Jonathan Hickman, so you know there's gonna be periods where he's going to bring up a lot of seemingly irrelevant stuff in the book. And then once you get the full story, you're going to be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. How about Clark Kent gets his powers activated after a few of his join the Daily Planet? So you're saying have Clark Kent have the powers show up after he goes to Metropolis. That would be an interesting way to do that. Let's hope you were wrong. And hey, Hickman's it's Tavia. It's not necessarily Hickman's decision. It's Marvel editorial. He can't tell Marvel to F off. He can't do that.
Yeah. He does have some pull because like he's done really good stories. So like he's not some newbie writer. He can't tell them to F off, but he can push back to a certain degree.
The problem is, I disagree, Nick. By your logic, the whole thing with the X-Men should never have happened. Because remember, he was in charge of the X-Men.
I'm not saying he has unlimited power. What I'm saying is he has some power. Like that's my argument.
He has some power, but ultimately Marvel editorial will, and particularly Spider-Man editorial, are too much on their ego trip to pay attention to what the fans clearly want. That's just the way it's gonna work.
I
Anyway.
just feel like I'm really intrigued by this. Like, he's been a father, like, and now he's getting his power. So it's like a father trying to be a superhero. He's never been a superhero before. Like, I really actually
No,
kind of
that's
intrigued by
cool.
this idea.
That's cool. I'm just saying. Everyone's celebrating. They're putting them back together. No, they're not. And also, another unlikable character is Zendaya's MJ. I kind of liked her in the later movies. In Homecoming, she was unlikable. The next two, she was more likable.
Agreed. Like, I feel like they called her MJ, but like she didn't try to be MJ. It's just like it's they made it very clear she is that universe's MJ. I'm like, okay, fine.
Here's an idea. Imagine if in the next Spider-Man movie, Mary Jane Watson actually shows up.
Oh, remember in the Amazing Spider-Man, they actually were gonna have MJ in it, like and Shailene Woodley was gonna be MJ, like they actually filmed scenes with it.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag release the MJ cut.
Yeah, but and then movie theaters is how can we let the X-Men retire? You can't. I personally would not do that because these teams are too iconic to have them retire.
Well, the thing with the X-Men is it's a constantly rotating team, so you can't just retire the team. You can retire, like, you can literally retire the entire team and bring on a new one. That's what they did in the 70s with the Uncanny, and they can just do that again. Because that's the thing about the X-Men, it's not any particular set of characters. It's a rotating cast. It's like Justice League, you know? You might have your core members, you might have your iconic members, but people rotate in, they rotate out.
And by the way, Tevia, likely it depends on when he gets the powers, because if his powers show up after he has the kids, they're not going to have spider powers. And remember, I want you to really, Tevia, I'm going to tell you something. I really want you to take this to heart. These are not the same versions of like Mayday and like Benji that you are familiar with. These are different versions. These aren't the same characters. They're from the Ultimate Universe where they could have them act completely in ways you don't like. I just want to temper your expectations here.
Also, I'm assuming this is a new Ultimate Universe and not.
Yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same. They have been very clear on that.
Yeah, I heard about that Brown Destroyer, about them bringing back the MCU Avengers cast.
We're going to talk about that maybe next Thursday on the member stream. But Kroger was supposed to be a happy ending. They could have, they could have done that. But going back to the movies, because we're about to wrap it up. Ultimately, in terms of how I would rate this movie out of 10, The Death of Superman, I give it a solid 7 out of 10. It's still fun. It's still great. It's just those story, it's too much of the tell but don't show, which is a problem with the general DCAMU. It's not just the SuperWonder stuff. It's the general concept of what they do in all of these movies where I draw the line and where I'm really like, no, I don't like this. But it's still fun. That's why I give it a 7. What about you, Teladia?
For me, it's a 7.5, just purely because they bring back some of the action scenes, like when Superman punches Doomsday in the sky, Man of Steel vibes there.
Yeah.
And then you got the death of Superman brings you back to BVS, and it's like they're taking elements.
Tevia, Doomsday was bad? That movie was not bad.
It wasn't bad.
How was that movie bad? And by the way, while Tevia types that, Nick, how would you rate the Death of Superman story? Because I know you haven't watched the movie, but I want to still involve you in this. How would you rate the story itself?
And now we're just talking in general, taking all adaptation into account. Just going
yes, all of them. Yeah,
all of them. Yeah,
8 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's solid. It's kind of funny to give you an idea. While Tevia types this out, I want to bring up. So in Infinite Crisis, there was this funny scene where like Batman and Superman are arguing, and Batman goes, "The last time you inspired someone was when you were dead."
Oh, that is deep.
And I'm just like, I like this a lot. And Brown calls, okay, so Brown rates the movie an 8 out of 10 and the story 7.5. Oh, nice. Well, mostly because Doomsday was crammed too much for runtime and ruined the story badly. I don't think it ruined the story. It was telling a different version of it.
You said rush the story.
Rush the story. But there wasn't much that they could do because they had to do the death and revival. And here's the thing. I disagree with you because here's what they didn't do. They didn't have the 4 Supermen show up in that movie. They just had like a Lex Luthor clone. So they still have him. He's dead. Halfway through the movie, he comes back and survives. Because here's the thing. The death of Superman, you could speed through this story really fast. It's just a big fight for like 5 issues, or for like however many issues it is. It's just a fight. Whereas the rest of the movie is related to the bringing Superman back. The movie did
we know the
accept the
reason why.
Superman. Yeah, I know. God. Yeah,
But anyway,
trust me, that movie is gonna be more brutalized because of certain things that happen in that story. But that's an interesting thing. So to wrap up, this is when the DCAMU started to go downhill with the whole telling but not showing thing. That's really where it messed up. Comics ruined for me with those extra bit that went nowhere, but they were doing so that the people buy more extra comics. Yeah, exactly. And Superman Doomsday is an example of the first installment weirdness. Yeah, exactly. So on that note, everyone, we're gonna wrap this up. So Teladia, where can one find you and what have you got coming on the channel?
So you can find me on Twitter at Teladia Plays _ and on YouTube at Teladia Plays. I have got my Marvel Spider-Man live stream tomorrow at midnight. Marvel Spider-Man 2, sorry, I should say. Then Tuesday is it's the Spider-Man stream with Jared. That's gonna be for a couple of hours. And then Wednesday, it's the SuperWonder comic series live stream, and it's gonna be a very interesting one because we only got 2 more books to cover. Then we're jumping to Justice League. So it's very exciting times ahead for us.
What about you, Nick?
All right, so you can find me on Twitter, the Phoenix Press, YouTube, just search the same. In about an hour or so, Jared and Teladia will be joining me on my channel. We'll be streaming Batman Arkham Asylum. I'm going to try and beat Bane this time. Keyword try. I have not watched strategy videos, not because I didn't want to, but because I'm lazy. And then tomorrow, I actually got something cool going on because the Screecher Kickstarter is coming to a close, and I'm going to make one final push because I'm really close to topping what we did before. So we're going to be doing a closeout stream starting tomorrow at 6 p.m. and we will close out this stream in style. Be thanking everyone and maybe giving some hints on what's to come with Sword Samurai. So yeah, it's going to be good.
In terms of Comics League, I'm going to be on these guys' channels, and then Britt and I are on Monday are going to be just releasing SuperWonder Legacy episode 13, where we talk about all the children that Superman and Wonder Woman have had throughout all the different iterations, even some iterations you probably didn't know about. It's going to be super fun, pun intended. In terms of indie comics, I am going to be doing something pretty cool. You ready? Call of Duty comics. Yes, they exist. For Black Ops 4, there are comics. So I'm going to dip my toe in the Call of Duty era and see if I can and see how this goes.
Guys, this is new for me because I never knew the Call of Duty comics, and I didn't know Jared was a Call of Duty guy. So this is new to me.
All right, and Under Two Capes, we're still formulating what we want to do. Next movie night is going to be The Reign Superman, otherwise known as The Reign of Lois Lane, which no one wants. To be clear, no one except Tevia wants that, but it's all good, brother. We love you. But and in terms of next week is our members exclusive live stream. And is this honor for the Call of Duty game coming out? Yep. Let's say that. Let's say I somehow planned this. But by the way, I played the campaign, super good. So in terms of so next Thursday is going to be the members only live streams. I think I'm going to do it at about 8 p.m. And then what we're going to do is we're going to be just talking about the news and stuff. If you'd like to be on that panel, consider becoming a member for as little as $1 a month. And that's all I got. So on that note, everyone, stay heroic, and I'll be sure to see you next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.